I woke up and found myself in the world of Doa Delu. Tang San, the pseudo-gentleman, became the nourishment for my first soul ring. All because I awakened the ability to devour soul rings with my Alzuris 5 at the beginning, to enhance my own soul ring's age. Even the third soul skill could summon Berdoni, who possessed a 100,000 point recovery ability and was powerful enough to fight against the god-killing Alzuris. But this was only my first martial soul. Pope Bibidong of the Martial Soul Hall saw my extraordinary talent and even wanted to accept me as her direct disciple. Seated on the throne, Bibidong held a scepter in her hand, her immortal legs raised high like a butterfly. She looked down from above at the martial arts below the steps and asked me in a commanding voice, "Are you willing to be my disciple?" As the majestic voice echoed through the hall, I quietly raised my head and stole a glance at Bibidong. She was indeed the Pope who had once caused a sensation. And even though she was already a mother, her beauty remained undiminished. Lost in thought, I accidentally made eye contact with Bibidong, and her indifferent gaze instantly focused my mind. I took a deep breath and shouted loudly, "I am willing to be taught by you, Your Excellency Huang." Bibidong's furrowed brows relaxed slightly, and she nodded imperceptibly. "From today on, you are my direct disciple. You may go now." Finally passing this test, I felt like I had been granted amnesty and walked out of the hall with stiff steps, while she watched me leave. Standing next to him all along, Tobashi immediately whispered a reminder, "Your Holiness, this child's gaze is wandering, and he shows no change in expression even in this situation. It's really suspicious. I hope you will think twice before accepting him as your disciple. Are you afraid of him? What kind of bad intentions can a teenager have?" Bibidong replied softly, "If he can maintain his composure in front of me, it shows that he is commendable. He's just a young soul master at level 30. There's no need to worry so much. I have a way to test him later." And I'm afraid Bibidong wouldn't even dream of it. The soul in my body is more than 20 years old. Back at the residence arranged by Bibidong, I sat cross-legged and stretched out my hands. With a thought, 2 yellow soul rings appeared from my body in an instant. At the same time, 2 illusions appeared in the palms of my hands. One was a small black sword the size of a finger, called the best sword in the village, and the other was a dazzling platinum light, in which a white horse could be vaguely seen making eye contact with me. The supreme feeling it exuded would surely make others feel fearful if they look straight at it. This is the martial soul Alzus that came with me when I crossed over, the creator god of the Pokemon world. At the moment, I obtained it. My level soared from ordinary to level Senshiyingcun, the blink of an eye, and it has a special effect of directly sharing the soul ring of the second martial soul, creating a replica of the same level. This perfectly solves the restriction of the twin martial souls needing to reach the level of Tidal Doluo before they can continue to add soul rings. Isn't this a real cheat, holding 2 souls, one ordinary and one outrageous? I once again fell into contemplation. In terms of time, Tang San should not have obtained his first soul ring yet. I have no favorable impression of Tang San, and since I now have 2 martial souls and accidentally recognizing Bidong as a master, I definitely cannot let Tang San have the upper hand. Secretly organizing my thoughts, I felt a lot more at ease. Fortunately, I had some understanding of the dual world, and perhaps I could predict many things before they happened. If I could develop myself, I might even be able to directly manipulate the history of Doluo. Just as I was pondering, there was a sudden knock on the door of the room. I called out, but there was no response, so I went to open the door in confusion. However, when I opened the door, it wasn't anyone else, but rather Hulaina, the first disciple of Bibidong and my senior sister. Hulaina was dressed in a tight-fitting outfit, and her slightly mature face was blushing, with fine sweat on her forehead, as she spoke in a tired, soft voice. "Our master has arranged a trial for us to test our combat power. We can't be late for the training ground this afternoon." I thought this arrangement was to be expected, but after Hulaina finished speaking, she turned and left, leaving me standing awkwardly at the door. I suddenly felt that this girl was looking down on me. However, when I arrived at the training ground, I was stunned to see that it was empty, with only Hulaina standing there alone. She was still wearing the Fox Spirit martial soul outfit that hugged her body, which seemed to enhance her allure invisibly, adding a hint of charm to her already beautiful appearance. Hulaina saw me approaching from afar and said coldly, "You're late." I didn't bother to respond to her words, and looked around. "Where's our master?" "Our master is busy with affairs in the palace, so I'll be the one conducting the trial today," Hulaina replied in an unfriendly tone. "You and I will have a duel, and if you win, I'll recognize you as having the qualifications to be a direct disciple." I felt somewhat speechless in my heart. It's clear that as the only legitimate disciple of Bibidong in the past, Hulaina received all the favor and attention. However, She is now quite unhappy that this newcomer has easily become the new, legitimate disciple. But it's likely that Bibi Dong allowed her behavior, not only to raise Du, but also to see which of his two legitimate disciples had more talent. I take a deep breath and ask my senior sister to teach me. Several idol disciples of the Wuhuan Hall are watching on the edge of the training ground. Of course, most of them want to see how Juliana will beat me with her tricks. These disciples communicate with each other and occasionally burst into laughter, all of which are mocking me. Meanwhile, the two people in the center of the training ground have collided. Juliana's whole body was covered in pink light, and a flame appeared in her hand. She disappeared and reappeared in front of me in a flash. However, it wasn't difficult for me, who was familiar with all of Juliana's skills, to anticipate this attack routine. I stomped my foot and two yellow soul rings instantly surrounded me. At the same time, a black, rough iron sword also rose up. I grabbed the sword and actively confronted Juliana's charge. The first soul skill, Kyo Yu Chia, the black iron sword pierced forward. And even Juliana had to avoid its edge. She dodged and the foxfire and sword edge almost grazed each other. Although it didn't cause any real damage, the two forces collided and pushed each other back. The wind and waves were intense, and the two turned around, where the foxfire and black sword met again. On the training ground, we fought back and forth, and the second soul skill, Ling Shengzhang, was executed. I held the sword and swept it horizontally, instantly cutting the corner of Juliana's skirt. Juliana couldn't dodge in time, and she took a few steps back. She looked down at her torn clothes and her face flashed with embarrassment. I glanced at her and explained with a smile, "Senior sister, don't misunderstand. I'm not being rogue.